What if playtime was doing far more for your child than you realised? I'm Rachael Bryant, host of the Kent Business Show. In today's episode, I'm joined by Nicola Bellman from Little Music Stars, a preschool music and movement business supporting babies, children and families across Kent. With over 20 years' experience in early years education, Nicola shares how music, routine and play quietly shape a child's development long before they ever step into the classroom, and why these early experiences matter far more than many people realise. We talk about how her background in childcare influences the way she runs her classes, the hidden learning taking place in what looks like simple play, and how she's built a business that supports both family and her own work-life balance. If you're a parent, carer, early years professional, or a business owner building something rooted in real impact, this conversation is well worth your time. Let's get into it.
Kent is powered by business, and every business has a story. Join your host, Rachael Bryant, on the Kent Business Show as she meets the businesses powering Kent, sharing their journeys, their experiences, and what they've learned along the way. A real conversation with real people, giving you real inspiration. This is the Kent Business Show, powered by your video team.
So Nicola, hello. Thank
Hello.
you so much for joining me in the studio.
Thank you for having me.
So we're going to be talking about Little Music Stars, which is, and I always get this wrong, it's a franchise that you've bought into.
Yes,
so
that's
tell us
right.
what Little Music Stars is about.
So Little Music Stars is a preschool music and movement franchise. So it was made 14 years ago by the lovely Katie Werner, who did it in the local Kent area, and she decided to franchise it out. It was run by someone else previously, and 2 years ago now I took over in this area, so South Kent, so covering Ashford, Barham, Saltwood. I can come as far as here, but there's no classes just here yet. That's something maybe I'd like to look into in the future. But yeah, basically every week we go to different venues around those areas with parents and children, and do lots of fun music and movement activities using some of our kind of original music as well as nursery rhymes that people know, lots of bubbles, lots of instruments, those sorts of things.
Amazing. So what started your journey into Little Music Stars?
It's an interesting story. I've worked with children all my life. So when I was 16, left school, started college, and have done my foundation degree up to my early years degree in early childhood studies. So I've done that now for 20 odd years. So worked my way up, started in a baby room, went into a preschool, did a deputy manager, and then was a manager for 12 years. I have a young family, and my son started school, and the education system didn't quite fit in with kind of family life and work-life balance, and I couldn't really do many school pickups and missing nativities and stuff like that. So I decided, well, I didn't actually decide, no, the opportunity fell into my lap. It was offered out that the lady that had this patch previously was selling it, and who would want it. And I thought, oh, this seems like an opportunity I need to learn more about. And here we are, 2 years later, still doing it, still loving it. It fits in with life, but still gives me that bit of doing something for children, doing something with children, but less pressure, less stress, less have it, less paperwork, all those kind of things, really far more fun. So so really that's what got me into it and why I'm still doing it now.
I mean, from a full disclosure point of view, you and I have known each other for a number of years now. My children actually went to your preschool, and then from that, obviously, they've grown up and we've become friends. But now I've also been to these classes as well.
Yeah.
And what I find magical about it is that you bring your learning into the class. It's not just the nursery rhymes that we learn from, but why we're doing those things. Tell us more about how you've managed to bring that together.
Yeah, so one of the important things about when I started the franchise was that you can create a situation where you can be your own person. It's not prescribed to a point that everyone's teaching in the same way, and we are teachers, we're all teaching in our own way, But my background, my child development knowledge, my things like that has forced me down a road where I want to educate the parents within those classes, or the earliest teachers, because I do go into preschools as well, about why we're doing what we're doing at that point. So as an example, we use bubbles in all classes. All children love bubbles. No one knows they're learning anything during that time. But, you know, things like hand-eye coordination, things like personal space, things like, you know, negotiating a space. But then for younger babies, just watching bubbles move is like huge for child development, and actually can link quite nicely back to things like reading and writing and stuff like that. So if babies have not had those experiences, it makes it really hard. You know, when eyes aren't used to tracking left to right, it, you know, so again, that's a really sort of simple activity where you can build in learning without the children even knowing. But what I've tried to ensure is that the parents know that they're not just coming for a bit of fun, although they're getting that, but there, you know, there's something more coming out of it. So, you know, when we're doing instruments, I will try to introduce simple beats. I will try to think about, you know, the songs we're having that are linked with themes that kind of help build different gross motor skills or different pathways to learning for different themes. So one of our themes which we're doing this term is the weather dial. So we have had different weather every week, and I've tried to bring in a sound like an instrument or a piece of music that we can listen to that can relate to that weather, piece of weather. So then hopefully from a muscle memory point of view, the children can link, oh yeah, the sun sounds like this, you know, it's bright, it's high pitched, it's those sorts of things, but the way the thunder is loud, it's ferocious, those kind of things. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey, but it's quite nice to still have my background there. and I suppose not belittling what the job is in Little Music Stars, but just make it give me something that I'm passionate about. Yeah.
And this is the thing, isn't it? Is that when it comes to, I say, like the preschool activities and these baby classes, as I suppose they sort of get jammed under as a name, is that a lot of people look at them as, oh, it gets me out of the house and it gets me to do something. But actually having those additional teaching and learning moments is, this isn't just a thing to do. There is, you know, it helps with the parental mental health. It helps, you know, children's interactions, social skills. There's so much that probably we don't even really take into consideration. We just think, oh, this is nice and this is fun and let's just go do it.
And it is really important, right, for parents to get out of the house. Like, that is fundamentally, if that's all they get from it. The parents have come out the house and they haven't for 6 months because it's been absolutely nightmare with a baby that won't sleep, and they found a mum that can relate to them, and that's also amazing. But if alongside that you can help them to realise how important early education is, and ultimately everyone gives it lip service, government, local authorities, about how important the early stages of learning are, but it absolutely is. It's fundamental. Everything that the children and babies do in their first 4 years before they start school has a direct impact onto their schooling in the future. And I find my love for it in that moment. Like, if I can just add one stepping stone into this child's education, then I'm happy.
What sort of reactions and things do you get from the children and the parents when they come into your classes?
Yeah, I've had lots of parents that have started with me and stayed with me, and I think that's probably quite unique. I think especially when you're on a rolling rota. So, you know, we have themes that go for a year and it starts again. So some of these children have done it 2-3 times now with me. And again, as a teacher, you have to be skilled to think, okay, I need to make it slightly different for those children, or I have to adapt it to their age now because they've done it last year. But yeah, the parents are thrilled. You know, I'm having such lovely feedback, and lots of parents recognising that my skills are children love you, they're so responsive to you, they listen well, they're engaging all the time. So again, that hopefully gives a tick box to the yes, all that education that I did helps. Like I can do my job.
It was worthwhile.
so I think it's lovely. And children wise, I've always felt since the very moment I think my sister was born, I had a love for babies and children, and everyone has always said that's where your passion lies. It was even a mention of my wedding speech, which you were there to hear, about how I was born to work with children, and I do genuinely feel like that.
Yeah, you create such a safe space for a child to be themselves and to completely let down those barriers. And I mean, we've had it where, my youngest son has moments of I don't want to say temper tantrums, but he's got good ones when he has them. No, most of the time they've always been with us. They're that safe space, and you always reassure me, and you're like, that is because you're his mum and you're his safe space. As a mum, and having seen him do that in front of you, I've gone, oh cool, there's another safe space, and thank God there's someone here to back me as well.
Yeah.
Like, that's quite an honour for us, but also from a parental point of view, is to go, oh, it's not just me.
Yeah.
Like, it really changes things a lot.
Yeah, it does. I think that children are unique and they all have their own ways, and it is difficult sometimes for parents and teachers to get it right. And I think when there's someone else that can empathise, support you, give you some advice, that's important too. And I do find myself falling into old ways with supporting parents with sleep problems or eating problems, or how do we get rid of the dummy, those kind of things, which are naturally what people come to preschool teachers for. And I that obviously comes out in me in other ways, and people do ask for that advice in the classes too, and it's nice to be able to offer that alongside a really, there's some people that walk in, do their class, love it, get their sticker and leave, and that is equally as lovely, but also what's nice for me is I can do those things, but I can also shut the door and then walk home and not have to think about planning or those things later on.
Certificates and
Yeah.
this and that you've got to fill out for that child.
Yeah.
No, but again, by having that, have you thought of? And again, it's that space that you've created where normal conversations will happen between mums.
Yeah.
And you'll overhear them, or like you say, be asked about it.
Yeah.
And it's not just like, you can actually offer that worthwhile validation for that parent. But it's not always just the parents that come. Again, we label it with mother and baby.
Yeah.
But I know that like my mum's taken it, like grandparents, carers, all of those sorts of things. Like this is about sociability and things as well.
Yeah, no, it is. It's definitely a place where people can come from all walks of life and feel confident enough to come in and do the class and not feel, I've seen dads walk into a room full of women and children and just join in and have fun as much as the next person, grandparents that want to be a bit slower and, of course, and join in, but are equally as elated to be there and watch their grandchildren grow and learn. So yeah, it's a really lovely environment to create.
And you said about obviously that adaptability and how you've had a couple of years where some of the children you've had for that entire time. Talk to us about, because you have different like baby moonbeams and you've got different levels. Yeah,
so it starts from 3 months. Like really, that's a gauge of an age really. I think if a mum was desperately wanting to get out before then, there's no reason why they can't come to a baby moonbeams class. But I think the typical 12-week mark probably marks people thinking, yeah, I'm ready to venture into the world now. And so they are much slower pace, really lovely in environments for anything to happen. So today, as an example, 5 babies, all there, all have found their legs today and don't want to do anything but walk around the room. And parents are just sitting there shaking their shakers like, oh, this is fun. But they're getting something out of it, and that's amazing. The odd thing will make them look up at you, and there you are. And then so the next age group generally I do is a mixed age group, so from that confident walking stage up to preschool, which is why some of the children have perhaps done it 2 years on the row. We do have some playlists and things for the middle age group, but you don't often find that there's many that would fill a whole class. So I generally do a mixed age class group, which I think is lovely. I've always worked in preschools where children from 2 to 4 are together, and my thoughts on that is that older children can learn to look after younger children, and younger children can learn from older children, and actually working together in an environment means I know I can't run around because there's a toddler here that's not as strong as I am, or oh, I know I can't rush to the instrument box to grab what I want because little Tommy down here is much shorter than me and needs to, and that's not a child in my class, that's just a random name. That's the teacher in me, we always bring out Tommy. Tommy arrives. And then that goes through up to preschool, and it doesn't stop there. I have done some one-off classes in the holidays, which again our general timetable is term time because it works with older children being at siblings, but I've done the odd half-term class or summer class, and I think it works up to 8, and I think siblings can come along there and they equally have an amazing time. I've brought my son along, he's 7 and he loves it now. I think he's probably done with it because he did it as a child with his nanny, and then I'm now doing it and he thinks, oh God, I can't sing shaking to the beat for another minute, Mum, thanks. But yeah, so there's such a wide scope of opportunity to bring little music stars magic to many children and many families, really.
What do you find the theming helps with? Because obviously some of the classes that are out there are just sort of sporadic and it's just rock up whatever happens, but you say like you have a term for weather at the moment. So I think the theming from a teacher's perspective is great because it gives you a basis to learn, like teach from. But I think for the children, and probably the most important reason, is it adds routine. Okay. So weather dials followed by space, and space is followed by jungle, and jungle is followed by rainbow. And then just like that in the classes, action and rhyme songs are followed by instruments and up and about. And, and so then over time, especially for children that perhaps have got additional needs or children that have got something that they're struggling with, if they know the routine or they're a little bit shy. So, if they think, I can't get up and about, that's not for me, but I know bubbles are coming and I love bubbles, so it's okay, I'm happy just waiting for a minute until we're shaking our sillies out and the bubbles are coming. And you can literally see some children just living for that routine, like what comes next, what are we doing? So I think the theme in part of that creates another section of the Little Music Stars routine to help the children understand that, that perhaps this is time to sit and listen for a little bit before we get up and about and have a good old boogie. So I think it's a lovely way to ensure that we're learning something, albeit through music this time, but yet that there is a focus to the class, and I think the parents like that. I think it adds value to money probably when you're in a saturated world of classes for as a parent to pick from. If something is offering a uniqueness of teaching and learning as well as music and fun, it's a double
nice
whammy, right? Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that is the thing, isn't it? Is we all talk about investing into our children, and we have children to be like, oh my gosh, right, what can I do to make this world better for you, and how can I make you amazing in this world? And everything you've spoken about so far has sort of led on to that. I think we'll jump over to our sponsor, but afterwards what I'd love to do is touch on how obviously those routines and stuff get them ready for the next level in school. So grand.
Absolutely.
We'll jump over to our sponsor and then we'll be right back.
This podcast episode was produced by your video team and recorded right here at YVT Studios. We're a full-service content studio helping coaches, creators and business owners turn conversations into content that connects. Need a professional space to film your podcast? We've got it. Want someone to handle the filming, editing and strategy? That's what we do best. Looking to walk away with months of high-quality video content, all filmed in one day? Book a VIP content day. Whether you're hands-on or hands-off, we'll guide you through the process, keeping it simple, stress-free, and seriously effective. It starts with a conversation. We turn that conversation into content, and that content builds your brand. Your video team, making you the hero of your brand.
So we are back with Nicola from Little Music Stars. Nicola, just before we jumped off then, we were going to talk about routine and how that routine that you're teaching is going to carry on with them in school. Explain more about that one.
Well, routine's life, right? We all have a routine. We all would like to think we're not bound by a routine, but absolutely everyone is. And children thrive off of it, right? Knowing what's coming next is one of the biggest things to support a child in behaviour, in understanding, you know, those emotional regulations, all those things. And, you know, school has very distinct routine, especially. But if you think about the stage from where I'm going, even at preschools, you know, even though if they are very play-based, lots of outside, there will be a time that they have to stop what they're doing because it's lunchtime or even to go home. You know, so sometimes we do, you know, in those kind of environments, there'd be that kind of circle time, mat time, you know, going off into the garden before your parents arrive, all those kind of things. And I think that it's important for even our smallest children to just understand that there is a natural end to that certain things, and we have to tidy up, and in life as well as in classes, and that leads us to something new. And as long as they've got something coming afterwards that it equally excites them and equally brings them to, you know, something else, then I think that that's a great way of, you know, just helping them understand that things naturally come to an end, but something will happen next. And I think these classes offer a really good, I don't want to say strict routine, but I think it does follow a very distinct routine that the children will be able to use those skills learned in another environment later on in life.
And you touched on there, and I suppose we've predominantly been talking about the sort of parent, carer and baby classes, but you did say at the beginning as well about how you also go into nurseries and preschools.
Yeah, so a lot of my week is actually made up from going into those environments as well. Obviously, I was very lucky to have lots of contacts when I took on this, going, why don't you give this class a try? And a lot of them have kept me on for 2 years as well. So again, they are teachers in their own right, but see a benefit of having this outside influence, outside franchise coming in and teaching these children something as well. So they follow very much the same routine, albeit some of them slightly shorter. But yeah, my week now is very busy with extra classes for preschools. I probably get 1 or 2 inquiries a week about preschools, and then parties for children's birthdays on top of that.
Of course, yeah. I remember your boy having a Little Music Stars party before you. So
exactly.
Yeah, I forgot about that. So in that sense, I mean, having come from the preschool world and knowing how busy you were, what does that 45 minutes of sort of giving over that time to somebody else allow the preschool to be able to do?
You know, I think probably as much as there's a lot of benefit from the teachers being involved as well, it does allow some of the teachers to perhaps go and have a bit of paperwork time, maybe even their lunch break, which again sometimes is really hard in a setting to fit in. But I hope what it does bring is something that they go, we can do that. We've got a box of shakers. So imagine just bringing that section of that class to the rest of your week, part of their routine. It might be, so as an example, we always shake our sillies out and do bubbles before there's instruments, because instruments is quite a hyperactive section, right? And we don't want anyone to be knocked over the head by an instrument. But if we've shaken our sillies out before, we've had a mega 5 minutes with some bubbles and some lovely music, now we can actually listen to shaking to the beat, and we can do the instructions that are being asked, or we can actually stop and go when we're being asked, because we've had a moment of that. So I really hope that there's some sections of Little Music Stars, albeit that I don't want it to replace me and Ziggy, of course, that they have that opportunity to repeat that through the week and see how easy it is to bring music into the learning too.
Of course, and I suppose that's the thing, isn't it? You're only there for one segment of one day in a week.
Yeah.
But from what we had at preschool, not every child attends every day. So again, they can kind of utilise some of those fun bits and be like, let's do the shake your sillies and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
I haven't even asked about Ziggy here. What and who is Ziggy?
Well, Ziggy is our brand. What do we call them?
Mascot.
Yeah, here he is. Yep. He comes with us. A lot of the baby class, he will be my model. So a lot of, so if you imagine in a baby class, we might have to do some winding of the bobbin up. And actually, if I've got something to show how the parents would do that with a baby, albeit some of the baby classes, I have some eager volunteer of babies that like to sit with me too. So Ziggy then is redundant, but he is that face and brand that's out there that hopefully people go, oh yeah, I remember that. I want to go to that class too.
It's very cool. So, the whole reason you said that you got started on this was the opportunities it would give you now to spend time with your family and things. What has it given to you? And are there additional opportunities you didn't really see coming?
I think it's opened up huge opportunities to me from owning my own business, essentially. And, I've had to learn different things that I didn't perhaps do when I was running the preschool. Marketing and social media being the absolute craziness of it, the second full-time job, because ultimately this is now turned into a full-time job, albeit within the hours that my son is at school. And so, what it has offered me personally is I can still drop him at school and I can still pick him up every day because my classes fit into that. But I literally am spilling out of the edges of those 6 hours now, and there is no more room for me to go anywhere else really, without having someone else on board. So for me now, that looks like the business goes in a different direction, and I have to think about, do I have a teacher? My patch as such, I don't know if you're kind of aware of how franchises would work, but the country's divvied up, and mine's pretty big. It goes pretty much from where you guys are now right down as far south as we could possibly go, and I can't be in all of those areas at once. The mileage alone is just not going to allow me to. So the growth for me now looks like, how do I bring someone else on board to bring more Little Music Stars to more children and more families, really.
So is it Kent? Is that it's not all of yours, is it?
No. So I have a little cut-off line pretty much between kind of Barham and Canterbury. I can't go into the city centre, but I could just dip into Wincheap, coming all the way around to Ashford, but a lot of the coast. Okay, and then as far as we are here in Tenterden would be mine. So it's a vast area. It's a vast area.
Which in covering in itself, but then like you say, I know what it's like when you think, I can do, my time says each class is an hour long, I can fit in 4 classes. But you forget about then, I've got to drive to each of those classes,
I've got to
set up, all of that. So all of a sudden you're like, I can do 2, maybe 3.
Yeah.
And I suppose this is where I know that you sort of have multiple classes in one space.
Yeah.
That always helps, you can run a couple of hours
and
do baby and then toddler. Yeah. So how does someone get involved? Because they can't take your patch. How do you grow your business?
So essentially it's just a teacher joining me and growing with me as we go. it would probably be safer for those people to start in a preschool environment, because you've got all the help, you've got all the adults there to support you, and then do that in one of the areas that I don't cover. So as an example, we're here in Tenterden, I'm not here, and hopefully someone that's local that would be able to have contacts to bring in some preschools, if not. And then as those children in preschool go home and talk about it, the parents start to know about it, and then off we go, and hopefully we can have a parent and child group. But yeah, it would be as simple as either finding me on one of the social media sites, emailing the head office website directly. So although the website has a main website, which is littlemusicstars.co.uk, the sub headings of those are all of our different territories. So you can get hold of me personally via the website, or it would just go to the head office and it would be sent directly. But social media seems to be the way forward, so of course find me on Facebook or Instagram, and if that would be great if anyone would like to join me to grow this
next
bit more
thing. Amazing. I mean, we're going to put all of Nicola's contact details in the show notes, so you can find her on Facebook. She says the website, Instagram as well, so you can go and connect with her, and if it is of interest, then absolutely reach out. It's worth a cup of coffee, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, in that sense, what do you see next for yourself? Obviously, growing is clearly the next thing. Can you see other areas you taking on and things like that?
I think I'm always, I never say no to something, but I always try to keep it real, right? The reason I gave up my 45, 50-hour-a-week job working with children was to slow down a bit, be more present at home and all those kind of things. So I do feel that maybe something like this, something where you maybe just sidestep a little bit from Little Music Stars, but, sharing my knowledge of child development, children, tips for parents, I don't know, whatever anyone wants to hear from me really, would be a nice way to grow myself alongside the business. So it's perhaps not Little Music Stars, completely, but also I've got a lot to offer to parents, and maybe it was something I could offer on the side of that, that support for parents. I know you and Ben would eagerly love me to write a book, but I don't think I have that in me quite just yet. Unless I can talk to something that types it as I do it or something.
I mean, I'd quite happily sit there and talk at me all day long. Yeah. But then this is what I do, right?
Yeah. So, I think there is room for me to do more, but I'm also loving life as it is. And this is brilliant and given me all the right feels as it should do at the moment, as well as being a mum for the other half of the week. So
this is it, isn't it? It's like you said earlier as well, is that it was surprising how much then you had to learn a whole new thing in social media. And for everything you think, I'll write a book, but what's the good in writing a book if you don't then market it and advertise it and things? So all of a sudden that little thing you were going to do becomes
huge.
You're like, hang on a minute, and then you're doing a book tour, and that would be lovely, wouldn't it? But if it gets that accreditation, I mean, how? Because you also share the knowledge that you have through little snippets on your Little Music Stars and things like that. What reactions do you get from those additional bits that, like you say, you bring personally rather than the franchise?
Yes, I definitely feel like there's a benefit for parents, and there's definitely things that you can see the reaction that people go, oh yeah, that's why they do what they do when they do it, and we're not, or even just those things that are silly memes when you share them. I don't know what it was the other day, life's a walk in the park, or Jurassic Park if you ask me, but it actually being a real parent on there helps parents realise that, I'm not the only one that feels like I'm herding dinosaurs today. You know, those sorts
Yeah.
of things. You know, I shared another one the other day, you know, in keeping with the theme, you know, whenever you feel like you're a bad parent, remember the Home Alone mum left her child at home, went on holiday.
Yeah.
You know,
I've never done that.
it's just, you know, and actually bringing knowledge, experience, personal life to something like that has been quite invigorating. I do like social media, and I like social media personally, albeit it has elements of it that scares me. As you well know, you know, I wouldn't share my baby from ages. Now he's the face of the world. But, you know, that I think you grow with it, you learn more, and you see the benefits of it. And yeah, I do like the thought of just, if one thing I share makes a parent feel, oh, okay, I could do that. I've got this. What? I don't have to have a degree in science to teach my child. No, absolutely you don't. Like, you can just put a tray of stuff on the floor and engage and to promote communication, you know. And yeah, so at this stage, as long as something I share is helping someone, that's good enough for me.
And it's funny, isn't it? Like, we go out there, and I know I've got a friend of mine, and who, well, she's an older friend, she's a friend of the family, and she's got grandkids, and she is so keen to teach all the time. And I love it, because I think, gosh, what an amazing grandparent. But everything she buys is with a specific learning tool. And actually, like, she's seen us turn around before and just get cars out and then be like, hey, what colour's that? Hey, how many wheels has this got?
Yeah.
And she's like, oh my God, they're doing it without. Whereas when she gets the book out, they're like, oh, Nan's trying to teach us.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like you can learn just by having fun.
Yeah. The fundamental learning of this age group is through play, right? You want children to learn without knowing they're learning, without them knowing you're teaching. And the best way to do that is on the floor, getting messy, joining in. At this stage in our community, our world, probably, sadly, communication language is on the decline. And again, that's one of the sorry states of social media, unfortunately, or gaming, or, you know,
It's
computer.
the computer world, isn't it? Like, my boys now, you know, what, they're pre-teen. In fact, one's about to be a teenager, but we won't go into that one. You know, and they are. Every piece of homework is like, I'm like, why are you on your phone? Doing my homework. Why are you on the computer? Doing my homework. And I'm like, oh my gosh, do you not have a paper and pen?
But as far as communication is concerned, how do you communicate with something that's one way?
Yeah. They forget there's someone at the end of that. Like, you know, we have said to them, one of them was asking Adam, your partner, about FIFA, and just wrote such a blunt message. And I was like, whoa. How would you ask that question as a person? And
we're all victims of that, because life's quick, and communication now can be quick. It's not a long letter that takes three days to arrive and you have to wait for it to come back by pigeon. Like, it's not like that anymore. So we're instant. Life's instant, and children unfortunately have to be taught that life isn't instant, to slow it down. And sometimes the easiest way to do that is just go to basics, right? So bring out your box of cards, play and make sounds, talk about it. Even if you're not even at the level of questioning, just talking about a commentary of what's going on just brings in new language. You know, how an adult talks is so different to a child. How we play is equally so different to them. So they're just learning from you all the time.
And this is like, I'm going to run it right back as well. It's like, early doors, like, even all that cooing and art and all those silly sounds that people are like, talk to my baby properly, and you're like, oh no, all those sounds, the things it does for them is incredible. Like, make the noises, be silly. Like, who told you had to grow up? I've had a baby so I can be a giant child, like, and not be looked at weird when I want to go Legoland.
And it is super important to, you know, follow children's lead, because again, a book can tell us many a thing about a child, but I've never seen a child read it and know what they need to do next. So books are great for teaching us about how typically children will learn, typically children will develop. But the best way to know what your child needs next is watching them, being with them, engaging with them. So the stage of cooing and making bubbling sounds back to them and just is really just about exchanging communication, right? You make a noise, I make a noise. Oh, I got a reaction. I make a noise, you make a noise. Oh, this is good. That's how we learn two-way conversation. As long as I allow a break for that baby to make a noise back to me, I'm teaching them. It's your turn now. But obviously, you follow their lead. So the first words they say, immediately you're going to go, Mama, you're done. You're going to repeat it back. Well, I've got even better reaction now. I'm going to try that again. It's just, they are so easy. Children are so easy.
Yeah.
And they're so simple. And we tend to try to make it very complicated.
And also try and do this linear thing, right? Mm-hmm. Like, this book says they should be doing this by this time.
Yeah.
And this book, and they're not all going to do that,
mm-hmm.
because again, that also depends on your interaction. And I'm aware we've sort of brought a lot of our relationship into this, but it worked, right? Like Parker, his first word was his own name, mm-hmm. because we were all saying it so often.
Yeah.
But actually his speech was slower because we were then all talking for him.
Yeah.
And it was through your learnings that was like, hang on, you can understand him, but I can't. So now you need to allow him to.
Well, maybe my one snippet before, people have to pay for my knowledge is the 10-second rule.
Okay.
Ask a question and wait 10 seconds before you say something. And it's really long and it's really difficult, but actually it's the best way for children. If you think about what they've got to process in that time. So I say to you, where's your boots? And now they've got to think, what does where mean? What are boots? Who am I? Where am I? Where are they? Now I've got to think, what do I need to say back?
Okay.
So actually 10 seconds is not long at all. But if you stop and count that in your head, it's a long time. And if you watch people, do it one day in a coffee room, it'll be great. and obviously parents think they're doing the best job. Chatting to children in a high chair is the best opportunity to have that moment. But you listen and you see how many questions that are potentially asked or said in a 10-second window, because the child is just taking a second to think about what I need to say next. We can all talk fluently. We know what we probably want to say next anyway in a conversation, and we'll just steer it that way. But they're just understanding at that stage. So, I think it's fascinating. Children are fascinating, and we digress hugely from Little Music Stars. But what Little Music Stars can offer in child development is amazing. It's phenomenal.
Absolutely. And I know that is absolutely why your classes are so incredible, so full as well, and ultimately why people need to reach out, get you while they can, and if you're interested as well in joining the team, reach out to Nicola and do that. And Nicola, thank you so much. I feel like I've pulled so much out of you, not just
welcome.
about like Little Music Stars, but that 10-second tip. The 10-second tip alone is a huge piece of knowledge, and something I know there'll be a lot of parents listening going, wow, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to try this. So thank you so much for joining us. We'll get all of Nicola's details, like I say, and we'll put them in the show notes. Go and connect, go and follow, go and find out more. If you've enjoyed this episode and you're a Kent-based business owner with a story to share, we'd love to hear from you. You can find out how to be a guest on the Kent Business Show using the link below. Be seen, be heard, be unforgettable.